it was George Kittle's statement. I think that's really where we should start. Something that's totally out of character for him to criticize.
Yes.
Let alone criticize his teammates. So I thought that him talking about the lack of effort was a very profound thing to say.
All right, so let's let you hear it if you missed it. I know I didn't catch this right after the game. I missed it. Here is what George Kittle said. Usually he's Mr. Positive. Taking a listen to George.
At a very high level, a lot of energy, 100% effort on every single play. And, I haven't watched the tape yet, but I don't know if we gave that today, at every single position. And, we had a lot of young guys play. We had some, we just, like you said, we're missing a lot of guys. And we just got to make sure that we're playing at that level every single snap, or otherwise that's going to happen, especially when you are down guys. You can look at his, we're down how many ever, 7, 8 starters, or you can look at his, that's a lot of young guys with an opportunity to go out there and, make big plays and, get their names known. So we've dealt with it before.
That is not the hype man, George Kittle, Vish.
No, that's not right. Usually George Kittle plays this WWE kind of caricature of himself to the media where he jokes with the media and he says funny things and everybody laughs. And then when he's saying something a little more serious, it's usually upbeat and encouraging. That looked more like a warning shot to the younger players on this team who he feels are not playing with the effort that he feels. That looked like, hey, this is 49ers football. We've been to 2 NFC championship games in 3 years. There's a standard we expect to play at, and you better be playing at that standard. That's what I took that comment to be. And that's, again, a very out of character thing for George Kittle to say.
My question is, number one, why is he saying that? Because he talked about the young people that were playing, but most of those were on defense because they were missing at 1.8 defensive starters. I thought the defense played well enough to win. Were they at their best? No, but no one's going to be with almost the entire starting lineup gone. So it was surprising to me to him talk about young guys. It was like, well, wait a minute. Most of those guys were on defense and they did their job.
Right. Like, we're talking about the 8 starters that he said were missing. All 8 of those guys were on defense. Yes, they are missing starters in their offensive line. Mixing and matching, losing McGlinchey, those things definitely helped. But I think that's where, Rob, it's funny you bring that up because I feel like we directly know who he's talking about. He's talking about the offensive line. That's the only position where young guys had to come in and play next to George Kittle. And it'll be fun to go back and watch because I haven't been able to do that with the film and see if there were misassignments in the run game, if that was the issue. But I don't think that was the case. I thought the offensive line held up besides a few brutal penalties from a guy who's struggled all season in Jake Brendel. Besides that, I thought the offensive line held up. Garoppolo had all day to throw. And really, the Falcons have one guy in their pass rush that could have impacted the game. And the Niners neutralized that guy. 97, Grady Jarrett, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. The Niners neutralized Grady Jarrett yesterday. And even despite that, and, despite opportunities to throw the ball, the offense struggled. So when you go into all of that, that's where I'm a little bit perplexed by why he said it. There's so many times we've seen the Niners in the last 3 years lose games like this. I mean, you go back to 2020. Nick Mullins or not, losing to that NFC East in 2020 3 times out of 4. The only game they won was the Giants was pathetic. They should have won those games, especially the game they lost against Washington when Dwayne Haskins and Alex Smith couldn't move the ball a centimeter for a second half. And losing that game was pathetic. Then last year, you go down some of those losses. The loss to Arizona with Colt McCoy. That was pathetic. And so we've seen these kinds of losses in the Shanahan era. These aren't things that we're unaccustomed to seeing. My question is, we've never had a questioning of effort despite this happening before. And one of the things I would say is a testament to Shanahan is despite a lot of outside questions surrounding the 49ers the last years, sometimes it's drama created by him and how he's handled the quarterback situation. Not sometimes. It's all drama created by him and how he's handled the quarterback situation. But despite all of that, the 2 things that have been consistent in the Shanahan era is the team's effort is unquestionable. Everybody goes out there and competes and gives it their all. And then their unity in terms of how they stand for one another is impossible to question. And here we are. This is, I would say, the first time in the season, this team with Garoppolo at quarterback has kind of faced a crossroads, and they lost a tough game to a team that's, I think, slightly better than people want to give it credit for. I did think that Atlanta had the ability to do and give the 49ers defense the trouble they gave them yesterday in the run game. But all that aside, and here you are, one of the team leaders, and he doesn't say, well, we got to play better. We're still 3-3. We're first in the NFC West. Because those are the things, if I was in George Kittle's position, I would tell the media.
And
We're
he
still
could have
first in the
said that.
NFC West. It's not the end of the world. We still control our own destiny. We're 2-0 in the division. All these things could have been said, and he went straight to guys need to play harder.
That he could have said all that stuff. You're right. He deliberately chose not to. CJ said Kittle effort comments. I don't know why that was necessary to say. He thought it was necessary.
Yeah.
Clearly. And you're right. It is troubling because they had plenty to play for in this game. A win would have made them 4-2, would have given them another win in the conference, would have helped separate them in the NFC West. And they had every reason to come out. And by the way, you stayed at the Greenbrier for a reason, didn't you? Didn't you stay at the Greenbrier because you wanted to be fresh and come out of the gates on fire and you wanted to look good right away, right? They look like they just flew in from California. At least the offense. It was very, very troubling to see that comment from Kittle. I'm interested to see if he has a media session this week, if that gets followed up on, because it should. It absolutely should. Kyle Shanahan's going to speak at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time today, although the Niners usually end up moving
I think that should be a direct question to Shanahan more so because Kittle will clarify and get himself out of this very easily.
Yeah.
I think it should be a direct question to Shanahan and say, now that you got an opportunity to go back and watch the film, did you think there were issues with effort?